those of you that don't know, because not in the program are the other participants in this evening's activities, we have from Vermont and places afar on the cello, tristen and honsinger, and on guitar from the island of Cecil and other places abroad, we have Franky. And we'll have a dancer whom I deemed Princess Carol Wonderlust. I would like to dedicate this evening's reading to an individual that I think might be responsible for bringing a lot of consciousness into the 20th century and towards the 21st century, someone that died not recently. I hope you do know. If you don't know, find out who Mr. Sun Ra is. Sun Ra just died a few weeks ago. I'm dedicating my reading to Sun Ra. And the first piece I'm going to do is written for Mr. Cecil Taylor, and it's entitled Post-Olympic Pyrotechnic Profiles. And Prince Philip's electric rainbow prism chorus palace of electric lights, where the rain-soiled music seeps through an acapella contempt and bliss, where the Tinseltown street lamps husk the glow of jaded saffron ghee from a poorly cedar post potted in psilocybin pastures of butter and corn, dreaming satellite sonatas beneath the weather of fate's finite afterlife, born of harvest nutritional deficiencies, where moist green pubic growth surrounds the gilded earth like an algae dilated on Jupiter's ninth moon, and thus causing Overexposure, the silhouettes of cows and trees make paisley puzzles of the fretless distance framed in a foliage of fall. Tonight there will be no problem, since the crowd is a boisterous Bartois delegation. Cecil bursts into the king's arena of light, poised privately in the center ring. Hip-hop and free-form rapper frees the bubbling crowd. Ebony man, Alabama quilted in a cotton disguise. Extra large hood draped, eclipsing the limitations of light from his black hole eyes. Princeton, prize fighting, Olympic hopeful sporting the arcane affirmation. Make jazz an Olympic event. Make jazz an Olympic event. Make jazz an Olympic event. Whipped and calloused into the miscegenated epidermis of his upper anatomy. The quiet light cocoons his lava legacy. Usonic mythology rumored the mechanics of metamorphosis equated the transformation of a piano into a butterfly. Usonic mythology rumored the mechanics of metamorphosis equated the transformation of a piano into a butterfly. Marvin Gaye weaves the flight of into silken slave siretic outburst. Distant lover, rebel graffiti fluorescent on an invisible wall of sound. The broke-leg dog dance of Obatala and the Mali Numu mystics gives geographical reference to motion becoming gaseous ethers. Mermaid mirage hitchhiking the second line of memory sonic seance. Red and purple giant palm casting a fermented fetish shade over the weather-torn moon of Oya. Brushing her coral cloud hair with the thunder-stained lightning jaw winds of Shango in a three-piece sheepskin suit. Fleece gesturing skinny gyrations in the syrupy Savannah calm. Broaching the wave-crested bust of Yemenya, making elastic the lavender horizon. A bass clef Hogan, how fanfares the royal approach. Fetish fingers parade across the crowded thoroughfares of a waxen ivory river's laser longitudes, lapping logic like an army of bozo ants, rushing past Olympic pace to become termites with a blind sense of gravity, escaping the Eshin bite of anteater's holocaust on evolution's rugged edge, sipping palm wine through a killer whale's tooth, sipping palm wine through a killer whale's tooth, in the sacred dawn darkness of molded millet huts with hogans and hooligans, drunk on the distillation of stellar, drunk on the bliss of stellar distillation. Forearm-clad elbows, ankles free of Charlotte's chains, forge a suspension bridge of piano wire across a cranium canyon, allowing ritual passage to cloud-based ecstasy. Suddenly his whole body extends erect from the ovum pores of limp piano pulp, as if Orion's filamented tail or stainless steel termite wing, wondrously appearing from behind the necessity of divine dictation. No, not only to occasionally walk the bar like the miniature trains that track the collapsing main arteries in slugs or Mentons, he is also known to walk beyond the bars that slam the brakes on mud-piled Bosco fingers, nailless, scratch-proof, dimples for blood, Jolson-stained head swollen like abandoned game on the Kalahari Chaparral. A baritone voice in the pygmy gathering screams possess. Walk that bar, Cecil! Walk that bar! The winged ritual folds suddenly into a silkworm ginseng man, bent and coiled around the motionless center of Senegal's sacred dolphin dance. Cuckoo, carouseling in a pantomime of myth, Prince Michael's movement mind on the piano's arid edge. He stumbles as monk chants snuff-stained dirges that smell of buds past blossoming. Avoid vexed ventriloquist with a patent leather piano dummy. I said avoid vexed ventriloquist with a patent leather piano dummy. Avoid vexed ventriloquist with a patent leather piano dummy. Piled in the parched afterburn of dukes in this caravan. He dances doom-doom by, pirouetting on the petrified peripheral of the Grenadilla galaxy, coming to aroma rest unexpectedly, like sights, laser leisure, landing on a street light fixed in the fog distance, next to an empty sapphire-stained ash tray, breath like a flag fluttering in the frost of his future. He moonwalks to face the open crowds, the open-eyed crowds, mass persona, then announces the braille title of a current composition, Cartwheels for the Homeless, Cartwheels for the Homeless, Cartwheels for the Homeless. And water falls from the razor edge of crescents and star-glazed fingertips into a cartwheel cadence of nights with the ease of whispering wound, welcoming him across the dialectics of ebony and ivory, leaving gravity with a deflated party balloon. This causes the pygmy audience to raise several centimeters above breath or applause, returning home to astonishment and disbelief. Part 2. Gale Gray, Grand Man of the Grenadilla System, Nova Nub, the Blind Stripe, Strips, Joint Stride, Piano, Keyboard King, combing an island of ebony and ivory with the braille brittleness of synesthetic sensibility, lightning laced graffiti eroded into the palm of the sunglasses' coarse surface, suggesting sequences of stellar formations of unit structures caught between the axis shift and the continental drift, caught between the axis shift and the continental drift, caught between the axis shift and continental drift, an uncommon denominator of subtle octagon chord substitutions, ecliptic ellipses, interluding sunspots, forced fossil fetish fingers wallowing in a piano crater, foaming on the sandy shores of a gator glazed pickle barrel centered in a mirrored upright candlelit crystal outhouse so low the Baton Rouge River cricket erects the plumed silence of generation across the glacier gloss of Madame Lacrosse's diamond end table. Molly Malou, slurping a sassafras sucker, listening fuck it to the whole affair. Molly Malou, slurping a sassafras sucker, listening fuck it to the whole affair. Stacking shaitan in a subterranean seashell, shallow chord tone with a water gun monkey line full of the bewilderment of philharmonic nuances. Booking a quintet in the hexagram, booking a quintet in the hexagram, booking a quintet in the hexagram solar plex of David's crystal star room, breaking diamond needles and platinum shot glasses with the afterthought of high frequency exchanges, balancing mother's heirloom portrait of the eternal edge of the Grenadilla baby grand plume, including a biological lose line with a loose lip leisure. Only Cecil Taylor knows the magic of.